Okay, this is a return of a tinfoil hats. My name is George Benavides. I'm a disabled veteran with a case of schizophrenic, but in reality, I have a case of ESP. I have a capability of special force. I have special powers. I have special communications. I'm a walking antenna. I'm being tracked by a satellite, attacked by a coup, and attacked with corporations that belong to Apple iPhone. They're watching me, torturing me, using Spectrum, TV, cable, internet possibility, Wi-Fi, geofencing, which is against the law, using satellite weapons, drones, electronic warfare. This is a 32-year war in an act of espionage where they destroyed me and destroyed my family on illegal spying, tracking, and torture. We don't consent. You coerce me into some kind of fucking project that I never signed a contract. You got me involved. You knew it was illegal, and here we are. Okay. Does the capability of having ESP is it possible? Well, I claim that. I claim I have ESP. I claim that I'm mentally incarcerated, falsely in prison for over 32 years. I claim that. In violation of my Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. In my crazy life that the government created. And you have to ask yourself, what did you do to stop this? Well, I filed a lawsuit, went to the FBI, went to two congressmen, and went to the U.S. Supreme Court. That should be sufficient enough to stop an act of illegal spying, tracking, and torture, espionage. But the government kicked the can down the road. They kicked the can down the road because they enjoyed watching me. They enjoyed tracking my mind, implanting me, tracking my mind, broadcasting my mind to society, to the government, to foreign enemies. Making it possible for me to broadcast my thoughts. Making it possible to virtually be in my mind, broadcasting my ideas while I sleep. Because when you sleep, you broadcast your life like you project it out to society of what you're thinking and doing. Intercepted by an artificial intelligence, planetary, open AI, to attack you. It's that simple. Okay? And I tried to stop this on May 12, 2000, because I was tired of them torturing me, bringing my family involved in this bullshit. But they kicked the can down the road. They directed me to the VA because they were enjoying all this. And they wanted to make more Americans just like me. It was like a factory. Can you imagine if we just block me, if we just violate his constitutional rights, block me from filing a lawsuit, and pay him, bribe him a disability pension, call him a schizo, taking away his right to security? How about violation of my HIPAA law, broadcasting my disability? If we take that all away from him and we commit a factory of implanting more Americans and broadcasting their life, we can make $1 million, we can make a fortune. Yeah, let's do that. So you created the Brain Initiative program to cover up an act of espionage. You had Obama go and try to persuade the UN to cover up an act of espionage. We know that already. When you guys should have stopped this, you should have stopped it. You should have stopped that a long time ago. You should have. Is ESP possible? Is microchipping possible? Yes, it is. I have that power. I'm a walking antenna, man, broadcasting my life. You have me entrapped, and I must say entrapped, in some kind of false imprisonment, geofencing, electronic prison where you're virtually broadcasting I am virtually broadcasting my life, simulated to society, to attack me with the neighborhood coup, in violation of my constitutional rights for over 32 years. Is it possible to have ESP? That's for me to know and for you to find out as a law enforcement, judge, doctor, scientist. It's for you to find out. And you must find out, because I do not consent to this bullshit. And they use me as a non-consensual test subject, a Manchurian candidate without my consent, and they're trying to cover it up that I am national security. I am not national security. Never was and never will. I was honorably discharged back in 1998. Why are we here, and how in the hell did we get here? And why did you bribe me a disability pension? Not all veterans got the same pension. Not all veterans got the same treatment. This land, this country is about opportunity, equal opportunity. I was discriminated against, chosen, selected out of the whole entire military to use as a test subject. Why? How did we get here? How? How did we get here? Now, is it possible to have ESP? Yes, it's possible. Sure, it's possible to have ESP. It's possible to have ESP. Am I making it up? That's for you to find out. Like I said, for you to find out. And you have those powers. You're law enforcement. You're a judge. Subpoena the government. Hey, does this guy have ESP? Is he broadcasting it live? Let me see the mechanics, the mechanism to that. What are you guys doing? Did you microchip him? How are you spying on him? How is he broadcasting? It's up to you to grab that information. You're law enforcement. You're a judge. You're a scientist or doctor. Grab the information. Make the case. Okay? Make the case. Investigate. Ask the government, hey, you got FOIA powers? They're not going to disclose it to me because they're trying to say that I'm national security. I am not national security. I don't work for the fucking CIA, FBI, DOD, NSA. I don't work for those guys. I didn't attend their academy. I was honorably discharged in 1998. I am a fucking ghost. I am a ghost. And I'll tell you why. We're going to first cover ESP. Is ESP possible? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible to have special powers. Is ESP possible? Yes, it is. It's been investigated. Here's the facts right here. Here's the facts. Is ESP possible? It may sound nuts. It may sound nuts, but I am nuts. It may sound nuts, but I am nuts. Remember that. Okay, I'm fucking nuts, man. I have a license to be nuts, right? I have a license to be nuts because you diagnosed me as being nuts and you wrongfully medicated my ass, giving me poison, killing my insides, right? Yeah, you're killing me softly. Yeah, you are. Is it possible to have ESP? We're going to find out right now. Here we go.
Skeptics may scoff at the existence of ESP and other paranormal powers, but the U.S. government hasn't always been so sure. In fact, millions of dollars have been spent over several decades to find out if such human capabilities actually exist.
That pursuit is the subject of the new book, Phenomena, The Secret History of the U.S. Government's Investigations into Extrasensory Perception and Psychokinesis. We're joined by Annie Jacobson, author and a 2016 Pulitzer Prize finalist in history. Hi, Annie.
Welcome.
Morning.
I think a lot of us are shocked the government actually spent money at looking at this, but you also point out very quickly that in 1975, the CIA concluded that a large body of reliable evidence exists to the inescapable conclusion that ESP does exist.
I mean, it's an astonishing conclusion to draw, and it's created an enormous battleground for decades between the CIA and the Defense Department as they, inquire into this area that has so long been associated with the supernatural, with magic. And here we are, advanced science looking at it.
How did the U.S. government first get involved or interested in this kind of phenomena?
Well, like so many Defense Department programs, it all leads back to the Nazis.
Yeah, well,
Always.
all roads.
And at the end of the war, military intelligence collected a cache of Nazi documents called Das Ahnenerbe. And that was Heinrich Himmler's, science into this extrasensory perception, psychokinesis. We got half, the Russians got the other half, and that led to what we know now as the psychic arms race.
Wow.
There was always a battle, though, within the intelligence community. Wasn't there about whether this was legitimate?
Always a battle. I mean, you have skeptics on the one hand who say this does not pass scientific method muster.
Right.
The experiments are not repeatable. It's pseudoscience. You have others who are in the work who insist, based on that quote you said, and there's some extraordinary success stories, locating hostages, locating lost weapons, downed aircraft. So this debate, the science versus the supernatural, has been going on for decades, and it's infinitely interesting.
Beyond ESP, you talk about something called remote viewing. What exactly is that, and what other kinds of phenomena was the government interested in pursuing?
Well, it's a great point you bring up. Remote viewing is essentially ESP under a different name. And it was done, the CIA created that term in the 70s to try to destigmatize this idea of extrasensory perception.
Nice name. They even worked with people like Uri Geller, who's a name I think some of us know in this research, didn't they?
Geller was a CIA asset. We know that from the documents. I interviewed his handlers. I interviewed Geller himself. The reason he left the program was he was allegedly also working for Mossad, and that has become a great mystery over the decades.
Yeah.
We talk about the various programs that have been declassified. You talk about one called Project Sunstreak. Tell us what that is.
Sunstreak, again, one of the names for this series of very similar programs that dealt with these same basic issues of can you see things far away through a means other than the five senses, through the sixth sense, so to speak. It was a special access program, which means it had extraordinary classification measures. They kept changing the names of the programs to try to keep the Russians and the Chinese from knowing what we were doing.
Annie, did they actually try to train people to be psychic?
They did at the Defense Department, and that's where real grave problems arose. The CIA's position was this is individualistic. This is a biological phenomena. It's physiological, and they sought to investigate. Think of the analogy of like, I can't sing in the shower. Think what Mozart does. That's how the CIA saw psychics.
Where are we now with these types of programs?
We're back in the same place we were in the 70s, except for we have advanced technology brought into the mix now. So you have the Defense Department working on programs, but bringing in, computer technologists, neurobiologists.
Wow.
Fascinating.
Totally riveting.
The book is Phenomena. Annie Jacobson, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Annie.
Okay, so is it possible to have ESP? Yes, it is. But the question I have for you, it's your obligation and your legal duty to find out if I have ESP, if I'm making this up, is it true? And you have that power. Under the FOIA, you have that power to request documents from the government, to seek out the government and find out if I have ESP, if I'm broadcasting my life. Ask society, ask my neighbors, ask the judge, ask the JAG's office. Do I have ESP? Am I broadcasting my life? Right now, they're holding kangaroo courts on the House and Senate floor, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, watching a satellite that's latched onto me, left and right, north and south, attacking me, stealing my thoughts with AI. And the reason why they don't want to shut it down is because their money is invested. It's invested. It's a stock war. But I have one question for you. How do we get here? How do we get here? And why are we here? I want to know how the government has been gathering their data. Because I don't talk to my family, not as much, and I don't talk to friends that I knew in the past. How are you gathering your data? How? Because I don't talk to my friends that I knew in the past. How are you gathering the data? Let me see how you're gathering the data. That needs to come to the courts. For over 32 years, you've been spying on me, tracking me and torturing me. I need to see the data on how you're confiscating my thoughts. That needs to be in court. I'm telling you right now, you will have mistrials. You will waste your money if you don't come forward. Is microchipping possible? Is microchipping someone possible? And I have to say yes. Thanks to President Joe Biden, he was for microchipping Americans. And I believe Senator Biden was watching me a long time ago and enjoying this. That's why he made a declaration that to the Supreme Court justice, that we need to go into advanced technology. No, we need to stay with the constitutional law. You don't go and microchip someone just because you want to test them. I mean, there's procedures you have to do when you test someone, right? Like a pharmaceutical drug, you have to bring them in, sign a contract, and then test the medication. They didn't do that to me. They didn't have my consent. Okay, so here we are. Here's President Joe Biden on microchipping. Okay? On microchipping. Here's Joe Biden.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that.
You will rule on that. Don't take the court cases if they come to the U.S. Supreme Court. We're trying to make it legally to microchip and track Americans, which is the reason why we're here. And, back around 2012, after I was denied due process and going to school and, trying to learn, I couldn't. I was being targeted. No one believed me. I was still being targeted to try to stop all this because I didn't want the government's money. My intentions were good, but my mind's being destroyed for over 32 years. I can't practice pharmacy. I can't practice medicine, and I can't work for a lawyer. Why? Because first of all, I'm in violation of HIPAA law. If I go work at a pharmacy, I am broadcasting the patient's information. That's in violation of HIPAA law. If I go work in the medical field, in the hospital, I'm broadcasting patient's information. It's in violation of HIPAA law. And you're violating my HIPAA law act because you diagnosed me to the Veterans Affairs and now you're broadcasting my disability. That's in violation of HIPAA law. And I can't work at a law office. Why? Because I'm just divulging secrecy of client attorney privilege. I am divulging information, intelligence, working for a lawyer. So you can't work in a law firm. Can't work in law. Doesn't work. And it's never worked. Okay? Using my eyes and ears to steal the souls of Americans. I am a walking antenna. I'm microchipped, broadcasting my life. I'm not national security. But in 2012, I was still investigating, doing my job, finding a theory, finding a defense mechanism to this war. And I went through jail. I went to mental institutions. I was confined to try to go up against a government of tyranny and communism that they're trying to establish for over 32 years to try to sell the Brain Initiative program, to microchip people. And I went through jail and I went through hell and I went to in and out of mental institutions because you were trying to prevent me from stopping this because you were invested in the silent weapons, in the microchipping. So I got a lead from a friend of mine who owns PaxInternational.com, Navy veteran. Derek Robinson is a Navy veteran. He works for Pax International, who told me you need to contact Dr. Robert Duncan on Facebook now. This is back in 2011, 2012. I said, who? He said, Dr. Robert Duncan. Contact him on Facebook. So I said, okay, what can I do to get information from a former CIA whistleblower? Well, first of all, I have to protect myself. So how do I protect myself? I create a false name and go undercover and seek information. It's exactly what I did, right? So I wind up on Facebook to meet Dr. Robert Duncan. And Dr. Robert Duncan is a former CIA operative. And Dr. Robert Duncan, when I asked him on Facebook, my handle is JB Rhyme, covering up my identity. I asked him, read the article. What do you think about stopping the satellite weapons and torturing Americans? And Robert Duncan answers, the weapon systems will never be taken offline. It is a psychotronic Cold War race to collect mind samples. If it is taken offline, it will be because the populations have decided to accept chips in their bodies for more direct control. Read it. And I break this down. I break this simply down. I break it down. I break his answer down. The weapon system will be never taken offline. Offline. Is that meaning Wi-Fi signal? All the towers that are popping up around us? All these towers that are pinging our phones and our internet's Wi-Fi signal, 5G, is that what he's meaning, that it's never be taken offline? What about a Cold War race to collect mind samples? Why did Joe Biden end the Afghanistan war? Why is there no more war? Why do we end the war? Because now we have turned code into society, trying to make society a walking antenna by microchipping them. If it is taken offline, it will be because the populations have decided to accept chips in their bodies for more direct control. We become a scientific experiment. And we've already been there already, right? We've been there already, right? We already been to trial on that already, right? We set the precedent. We set the precedent on test subjects and experimenting on people, right? We've been there already. We've been there already. We've been there already. We've been there already. We had tried the German doctor for experimenting on Germans. Here we are.
Welcome. We are thrilled that you are all here. We're very, very excited about today's program because we are so delighted to be working with Professor John Barrett, who we've had the pleasure of working with before. And he was kind enough to join us remotely. Unfortunately, we're not at the museum in
Remotely?
person, but we hope that we'll be able to do this again soon. But we're so delighted that so many of you are joining us today. As those of you who registered know, you are here to learn about the Nuremberg trials. Professor Barrett is an expert on this topic. I'm going to formally introduce him before I turn the program over to him. So Professor John Q. Barrett is a professor of law at St. John's University in New York City, where he teaches constitutional law, criminal procedure, and legal history. He's also the Elizabeth S. Leno Fellow and a board member at the Robert H. Jackson Center in Jamestown.
Well, let's go around the bullshit here and get to the facts, okay? We're talking about the Nuremberg trials, okay? I don't know why I gave those two idiots. They don't know anything about the Nuremberg trial, the Nuremberg Code trial. But she did say remote, so here we go, the Nuremberg trial.
It's 1945 and World War II is over. Adolf Hitler is dead. So are his top lieutenants, Heinrich Himmler and Joseph Goebbels. But dozens of high-level Nazis are still alive and in prison. What do the Allied powers do with them? They take them to court in their own backyard. The Nuremberg trials were a series of international prosecutions that decided the fates of Nazi war criminals. Why hold these trials in the German city of Nuremberg? Well, for one, unlike a lot of German towns, Nuremberg was relatively undamaged by the war. And, just as importantly, the city had been the site of several infamous Nazi rallies. Prosecuting Nazi leaders there brought a symbolic closure to the Third Reich. The trials were administered by the four principal nations of the Allied powers: the United States, Great Britain, the Soviet Union, and France. However, each of these countries had their own laws and legal system and had to settle on a common framework of justice. They couldn't try each defendant 4 different ways. So in August of 1945, they all sat down and hammered out the London Charter of the International Military Tribunal. With the London Charter, the Allies agreed that the defendants would stand trial and be allowed to have their own defense attorneys. Instead of a single judge, there would be a tribunal, 4 judges, 1 from each Allied country. The London Charter also defined the 3 major charges each criminal would face: crimes against peace, like planning and starting a war crimes, such as killing POWs, and crimes against humanity, in other words, killing civilians, as the Nazis did during the Holocaust. The trials lasted at Nuremberg from 1945 to 1949, but the highest profile cases...
And here we are repeating history, repeating common law, when the military knew that it's against the law, and you've adopted fusion centers to hunt down Americans, killing Americans with a secret war. After you knew history was written, the law was written. We're test subjects. We're test subjects. We're test subjects. We're being experimented on by our own government. Microchipped, implanted, tracked and tortured by our own government to convince that we need to be microchipped. We're test subjects. We're experimented on by our government in an act of war. So, after Dr. Robert Duncan made a statement, we knew that they were trying to make us test subjects. They already been experimenting on me for a long time now. But he clarified that they're trying to experiment on us without our consent. And then I have to go back to a couple of more microchip victims. We have to look at the facts. The microchip victims. Who are they? Who are the microchip victims? Well, I am one of them. I've been spied on, tracked, tortured. And did they seek justice? Yeah. Did they seek justice? Yeah, of course. As a matter of fact, there was one particular case where the individual went to the state of Missouri, spoke to a state Missouri representative, and the representative was a brave heart. He took the issue in. He took the issue in and began an investigation for the American citizen, Mr. James Guest. James O. Guest. Mr. James Guest out of Missouri investigated the case of James Walbert. Read the letter. Read the letter. He investigated the case of James Walbert, who was victimized with an implant. He was victimized with an implant. He was victim of an implant. And the Missouri senator investigated his case. Here we go.
My name is James Walbert. I am from Wichita, Kansas. I am a targeted individual for the gain of intellectual properties. In the year 2004, I was responsible for the very first order of protection issued against illegal tracking technologies, illegal human tracking, as well as any and all energized devices designed to track the human nervous system or affect the human nervous system. My claims have been backed up by famous private investigators, as well as famous toxicologists, congressional member, state representative of the House of Missouri, Jim Guest, as well as congressional member Todd Tiehart. My story has been published in 50,000 magazines and 14 times sold on newsstands. I've had several interviews with State Representative Jim Guest and several congressional members doing radio shows with him, as well as my issue is addressing House bills that are consistent with Alaska Senate Bill 293, Colorado House Bill 1082, Missouri House Bill 550, which has now moved into Missouri House Bill 2041, New Hampshire House Bill 686, North Dakota House Bill J020, Ohio Senate Bill 126, California Senate Bill 362.
So there is reason to believe that there have been microchipping Americans. There have been cases. This guy's been in court. He removed his implant. He found his perpetrator, and they punished the guy. Okay, but it's up to you to discover if I have ESP and I'm implanted. How am I broadcasting my life? Why am I broadcasting my life? It's your duty to find out. Okay, they're not going to let me investigate. I've tried. Okay, they're not going to let me investigate myself because they hijacked me. They have me hostage. My own government has me hostage. Now, the bad thing about it is it didn't happen to every veteran that served with me. Every veteran that enlisted with me, they didn't use them as an experiment. They chose me, discriminated against me. And here we are. I'm stuck in a bubble. I'm the bubble boy, unleashed on a coup that's attacking with technology, a silent weapon. Okay? Back to Robert Duncan. Robert Duncan is a whistleblower for the CIA. But Robert Duncan also talks about Americans being tortured. He witnesses over 72 years. He witnesses over 72 years that Americans were being targeted and tortured. Okay? He witnesses. And so when you have a CIA operative who comes forward and says, yes, I do believe that they're attacking military personnel, I mean, you have a duty to stop it as congressmen and senators, okay? You have a duty to stop it as congressmen and senators.
Attention law enforcement.
There's no doubt.
You took an
You have a
oath
duty to stop this, investigate and stop it. Find the truth.
Family, your neighbor.
Okay? You have a duty to stop it, and it didn't stop. They continue, kick the can down the road, and now they have kangaroo courts, and this is a fact. Here's the fact. The facts are the facts, and you can't hide the facts. Okay? When you have facts, and you know what's happening, and they don't investigate it, someone's in deep trouble because they won't investigate the case. They're watching it. They're watching it unfold, but they won't investigate and stop it.
Excuse me, what are
and
you listening to?
when you don't stop it, when you don't stop the case, and you continue on allowing an act of war against me, then you're in serious trouble because you're basically colluding with other people, and while you're watching this unfold, stop.
Utilized on my own citizens, and that was unacceptable to me. And since then, I've done hundreds of interviews, interviewed the Navy quite some time. My background.
Here we go.
Duncan?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have an Ivy League background, education, and I've been studying and human rights activism for what is now currently termed Havana syndrome. But this has been going on for quite some time. I worked for DARPA on projects for the CIA, for the Navy, for example, wrote the Artificial Intelligence Code, tracked the Soviet nuclear submarine fleet. But about 20 years ago, I realized some of my research was being utilized on my own citizens. And that was unacceptable to me. And since then, I've done hundreds of interviews, interviewed 2,500 victims or targeted individuals, as they're called, found commonalities of all their stories. And I've spoken to with the head of the LA FBI, to the Senate Intelligence Committee, 23 senators and representatives, with some interest. And I said, just wait when it starts happening to their agents, diplomats, and the FBI. So interestingly, a story came out yesterday that it's happening to the FBI now.
Let's go back and look at his topics. He said that 20 years ago, this is a 72-year war. He said that 20 years ago, he witnessed Americans being tortured. Here we go.
The Navy, for example, wrote the Artificial Intelligence Code, tracked the Soviet nuclear submarine fleet. But about 20 years ago, I realized some of my research was being utilized on my own citizens. And that was
He realized that Americans were being targeted. His own citizens, American citizens, were being targeted 20 years ago. That was the year 2000, about right when I filed my lawsuit. Okay? He clarifies that. We're in 2025. 20 years ago, that's 2005. Okay? But this silent war has been going on for a long time. And you mean to tell me as a CIA operative, you have not investigated this? Come on, folks. Come on. You can't make that up. He said he saw 2,500 victims.
And that was unacceptable to me. And since then, I've done hundreds of interviews, interviewed 2,500 victims or targeted individuals.
2,500 victims he interviewed. Okay. So what did he do to stop this? Well, he said he went to the FBI.
With the head of the LA FBI, to the Senate Intelligence Committee, 23 senators and representatives, with some interest. And I said, just wait when it starts happening to their agents, diplomats, and the FBI. So interestingly, a story came out yesterday that it's happening to the FBI now.
What is your educational background?
It's happening to the FBI. It is happening to the FBI. It sure is. It's happening to the FBI. And the sad thing about it is that you know how they're operating this machine. You're watching it. You see how they're attacking me, because what they're doing to me, they're doing it to every American. It's that simple. What they're doing to me, they're doing it to every American. And if you don't see that, you are fucking nuts. You're nuts. Whatever is used on me is going to be used on you. And you should be observing that. It's that simple. Keep it simple, stupid. You're watching them target and torch me, and whatever they're doing to me, they've been doing to other Americans. Just wait till it happens to the FBI. Just wait till it happens to the FBI. Well, God damn it, it did happen to the FBI. Yeah, it did. Attacked an innocent woman who was undercover. How do they know she was undercover? If you attacked an undercover agent working for the FBI, man, I'd be scared too. I'd quit the FBI. I wouldn't want to work anymore with the FBI. Shit, someone's watching me. I'm out of here, dude. Whatever you unleashed against me is not right. But we know what's happening to the FBI. It is. It's happening to the FBI. It happened to the FBI. Here we go.
Of the brain.
Force.
It happened to the FBI. It happened to the FBI.
Last name because she's still an FBI agent working in counterintelligence. She says in 2021, she was home in Florida when she was hit by a crippling force.
And bam, inside my right ear, it was like a dentist drilling on steroids. That feeling when it gets too close to your eardrum, it's like that, times 10. It was like a high-pitched metallic drilling noise, and it knocked me forward at like a 45-degree angle this way.
She says she was by a window in her laundry room.
My right ear was line of sight to that window while this thing was happening in my ear. And when I leaned forward, it didn't knock me over, but it knocked me forward. Immediately felt pressure, and pressure and pain started coursing from inside my right ear, down my jaw, down my neck, and into my chest.
At the same time, FBI agent Carey told us the battery in her phone began to swell until it broke the case.
In my ear, down into my chest. That's what the weapon does. It cuts you internally. Causing an infection. They wrongfully diagnose you. They don't give you an antibiotic. Oh, it's a virus. Get out of here. It's a virus. Get out of here. When in fact, in reality, the doctor should be given an antibiotic because they're causing an infection. If you cut yourself, what do? You put on an antibiotic, Neosporin. The same thing that happens to Americans that are being cut. It's a cut. It's an infection. You give me an antibiotic. Don't tell me it's a virus. You're not being precise in medicine. You're being unethical. Here we go.
Finally, she passed out on a couch. Because of chest pain, she was checked by a cardiologist and then returned to duty.
And I remember complaining to my colleagues for months after that. I felt like I had early Alzheimer's. Short-term memory, long-term memory, confusing memories, multitasking. My baseline changed. I was not the same person.
Carey's story...
Yeah, and I'm not the same person. I am nuts. I have a case of... I'm schizophrenic. I have to wear a hat to protect me from the radiation from coming into my head, down to my neck, into my chest. And I have to cover it up some point in time because my brain is sensitive. It's a skull. I have to think, right? But let's continue on with her story because it's happening. Her symptoms are what important to me.
Step behind where I'm supposed to be. So I'll turn to
and vestibular system of the brain. Everything.
Chest pain.
Her symptoms are important to me.
Or acoustic ultrasound. More than 100 officials or family members have unexplained, persistent symptoms.
If I turn too fast, my gyroscope is off, essentially. It's like a step behind where I'm supposed to be. So I'll turn too fast, and I will literally walk right into the wall or the door frame.
She'll walk right into a wall. And you don't know what the fuck you're doing half the damn time. You don't know what the fuck you're doing because it's inside your fucking skull. Past the blood-brain barrier. Okay? I'm not twisting your arm to listen to this video, but it's my testimony. It's my belief that you falsely imprisoned me, attacked me, and attacked my family members. It's crazy, man. You guys are nuts. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Let's continue on here. More on Carrie's symptoms.
Jail.
This is
Carrie says she was hit in Florida, and a year later when she awoke to the same symptoms in the middle of the night in California.
It felt like I was stuck in this state of like disorientation, not able to function. Like, what is happening? And my whole body was pulsing.
Mark Zaid is
and my
Carrie's
whole body
attorney.
was just pulsing.
He has a security.
That's what they're doing to my head. They're pulsating my head. It's a silent weapon, used illegally in an act of war. And what I have to ask you is that why are you using this weapon against Americans when in relation, in reality, to the Geneva Convention? If you can't use this weapon in an act of war against foreign countries, why in the hell are you using it against Americans? Is my question. In violation of a Geneva Convention, UN laws and treaties. Why? Why? Just wait till it happens to the FBI. Like I said, you can't make this stuff up anymore. Okay? Your intention is to drive us nuts. You have. Look at me. You've driven me nuts. Right? I went to the VA. What did the VA do? Well, I don't know. Let's see what they did. What did the VA do when I went to the VA? What did the VA do when I went to the VA? What did they do? What do you think the VA did when I went to the VA? Huh? What do you think the VA did when I went to the VA? And I'm going to end with this here. If you don't like my speeches, stop attacking me. It's that simple. If you don't like my speeches, stop attacking me. It's that simple.
It's a massive issue.
Intelligence might not want to make that public, but they must make it known to qualified and in a secure setting and provide answers to our findings.
Guys, if your assessments here are correct, these are very covert weapons, aren't they? They don't leave behind bomb fragments, bullet holes, etc. They could absolutely be used by our adversaries and have very low levels of, very easy to deny that they were even there, that they were used. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things, especially on the low duration, the low intensity, long duration hits.
But you were saying that the targets are...
The low intensity, long duration hits. It's designed to make a target feel like they're crazy, right? He just said that. It's designed to make a target. And I'm going to say that 100 times because I have schizophrenia. I'm schizophrenic. And you don't believe my ass, right? So I've got to repeat it over and over again. Why? Because I'm schizophrenic, right? Here we go.
That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things. That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things. That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things, especially on the low. That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things.
Is to make a target feel like they're crazy. Here I am covering my head. I have a case of ESP. You're violating my 4th and 5th Amendment right in my crazy life. These dots stand for my crazy life. Because it is. And here you are with the coup attacking my ass. You violated my civil rights and liberties. And you're torturing me to cover up your act of espionage. You destroyed my family. You destroyed me. I had intentions, good intentions. I wanted to work, not be on government welfare. I should be working supporting my family, enjoying my family as we all age together, not being aged because you want to attack me with a silent weapon. Come on, guys. You guys are not all there. You're and when you admit that it's a form of jealousy, because surveilling Americans, watching through our homes with geofencing and satellites is an act of jealousy. It's a sickness. It's a sickness on your behalf because you have to surveil our asses. And you're jealous because you have this power to go in our homes, and when we don't do anything that you don't like, you attack us. It's a form of stereotype, it's jealousy, and illegal surveillance. And when you get rid of that, you'll accept America. You accept diplomacy. You accept constitutional rights and freedom for the American people. When you accept that and get rid of that, okay? But when you're still in violation of our constitutional rights, then you will suffer because you will be caught by God's army. The power is given to the people to infiltrate your agencies under the FOIA and under the Whistleblowing Act, and they will infiltrate you. I promise you. They're hungry. They want that money. So we know that it drives you crazy. But what else are they doing? What else are they doing? Well, it drives you crazy, but then they're also told to go to the VA, right? They're told to go to the VA. We are told to go to the VA.
That winds up on the president's desk every morning. So something that doesn't come to light, and it's something that, especially unseen, they're totally left out of this because the Havana Act doesn't cover your active duty members. They're told to go to the VA, but there's no VA diagnostic code, so we're not getting them care. It's not consistent.
We're told to go to the VA, but we're not getting them care. We're not getting them care. It's not consistent. And what you're doing at the VA is wrongfully diagnosing thousands of veterans, medicating them, giving us poison, unleashing us back into society with coups and satellites and drones and electronic warfare to attack us and slowly kill us, diminishing our lives, making us suffer with these weapons of mass destruction. It's been around for over 72 years. We're told to go to the VA.
Unseen. They're totally left out of this because the Havana Act doesn't cover your active duty members. They're told to go to the VA, but there's no VA diagnostic code, so we're not getting them care. It's not consistent. We have funding available. We're not getting them care. It's not consistent. So what does the VA reach for? They reach in their medicine bag for schizophrenia. Unleash us back into the world to be attacked by a coup. Fusion centers, satellite weapons, and drones to slowly kill us. We're not getting care. You're giving us poison, killing our insides, causing cancer, causing diseases, to hunt us down and track us down. It's a silent war. It's a secret war, a civil war. Not against me, but against other Americans. And you unleashed it to cover up your act of espionage, your brain initiative program, microchipping people, because it's cool. And who's making money off this? Neuralink, all your AI stocks. All right, all your AI stocks. Raytheon Corporation, Lockheed, Boeing, Metaverse, Google, ABC Inc., the tech giants. And if you look at the bank accounts of these tech giants, they're all committed crimes. And they all should pay for America's deficit because we are in debt. And because they broke the law, they should pay for the deficit. They should bring Americans out of this graveyard of a secret war that we're facing. Thank you, and God bless America.